This is Steve Zeltzer with WorkWeek. On August the 1st, 2020, a rally was held at the Oakland Coliseum on the issue of privatization of the Port of Oakland. Trent, Willis, president of ILWU Local 10, talked about some of the issues that his union and the membership are concerned about.
What its viability is for the people that live in this area. Actually, what we're demonstrating for is that it doesn't have a positive economic. It's not positively economically viable for the city, the citizens of Oakland, in particular the citizens of West Oakland. Even what the Fisher family wants to do here in East Oakland is not economically viable for the citizens. So when we're dealing with public land and anything that belongs to the public, the elected officials in that area, as well as the public, mind should be on what's economically viable for the public, not for a billionaire who owns a pro baseball team in the area.
Yeah, and this is kind of a dumb question. I'm sure I knew this at some point, but I'm sort of a South Bay reporter, so I've kind of forgot how this all works. Why is it that the new stadium project is thought to have a negative impact on the port?
Well, basically, there's a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons is the effect it'll have on the turning basin for the container ships. Of course, you know, there are many companies and entities that depend on the port to do business and to ship products to other areas, other countries. The Port of Oakland is a main hub for shipping for all of these different entities.
So it'll reduce the amount of capacity.
It'll reduce the room for the turning basin for the large container ships that are needed to come to Oakland to get products all up and down the coast and through the Panama Canal and to the Gulf Coast and everywhere else. You know,
and that would also potentially limit the number of jobs available at the port.
Well, it would run business out of the port. If shippers have a problem getting into the port and positioning ships to be loaded and unloaded, then they'll go to ports that they don't have that problem, such as the Port of Los Angeles, Port of Seattle, other large container ports that can accommodate the ships, the size of the ships that come in.
Yeah.
If that turning basin is shrank in any type of way, it would have a negative effect on those large container ships' ability to turn around and position for us to work them.
Right. And tell me a little bit, so if that business dries up, tell me, people will lose their jobs. Give me some sense of like how many people would lose their job and what would that mean for the local community in Oakland?
Well, you have to look at it in a larger scope. Okay, for the longshoremen, that's very negative for ships to not be able to call the port. Because then you won't need longshoremen in the Port of Oakland. You have many longshoremen that live in this community who would lose their jobs and immediately become a statistic. There are a lot of businesses that surround the port that depend on the business that the port gets for their businesses. It would absolutely negatively affect the community in regards to small businesses and all of the mom and pop shops around the city of Oakland and surrounding cities that depend on the economic drive of the port, depend on the longshoremen's wages and conditions for us to contribute to the community. All of those things will be affected if we don't have a port business in the Port of Oakland, and the stadium is this proposed stadium is a threat to that business. So we're absolutely against it. The port provides good, high-paying jobs with union representation, and we want to keep it that way. We don't want a stadium there where people will be selling peanuts and refreshments, you know, to the guests.
Yeah.
That's a minimum wage paying job. It's not something that you'll be able to afford to buy a house in Oakland, you know, and it's just not a viable solution for the citizens here in Oakland and the people that work here.
Yeah.
in Oakland. Just all across the board is not viable for any section of the public or anything.
Yeah, and just very last question, and I guess this would be for either one of you. As far as the solution that you'd like to see here, are you saying that no stadium should be built? Is there a way to do this project that could make it work for everybody, or are you saying there's no way to make it work, you just have to call off the project?
No, there's a way to make it work. You know, we're standing right in front of it. It's right there. Okay, if the Fisher family and our elected officials in Oakland desire a brand new stadium, they got plenty of room here. Okay, you got the Warriors. They've moved to San Francisco. You got plenty of room there. You have the Raiders that have moved to Las Vegas. They don't have to worry about the Raiders anymore. Yeah. I mean, you can for the price ticket that we're talking about building a stadium downtown, for the cost that would cost, okay, if you invest that same amount of money here, you can tear all of this down and build the most extravagant baseball stadium you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. Here, with plenty of parking, and you can build some shops around it, or whatever you want to do. You know, the BART's already connected there, the freeway's there. You know, when you look at the proposed project downtown, it's a disaster waiting to happen. There's no access to that part of town that, you know, for the people who will be attending the games. There's also a threat to congestion, slowing down productivity of cargo, you know, making the port unattractive for business, which will have the same effect as I described earlier. You would run customers out of shipping customers out of Oakland. They'll go to other ports up and down the coast. You'll have layoffs for longshoremen. You'll have failing businesses surrounding the port, and you'll have economic deficit for the city.
If this particular stadium is built at Howard Terminal, the third busiest port on the West Coast, there will be no tailgating there. There's no room for tailgating. I'm a past Oakland A's season ticket holder. In 1989, when the Loma Prieta earthquake hit, I was at San Francisco's Candlestick Park.
That's crazy.
Let me explain something to you. I'm not an A's hater, but we need to understand one thing. We need to be able to separate the Fisher family away from the Oakland A's. The Fisher family is using the Oakland A's as an investment. Let's be clear about this. They didn't want to pay their $1.2 million in upfront rent. They finally relented and did so after embarrassment. They claimed that we can't pay it because of the COVID-19 virus. This is the same ownership that said, we can't afford to pay $400 a month to our minor league ball players. Causing an embarrassment, they finally relented and paid it. This is a multi-billionaire who is extremely right-wing and anti-black. They are moving through their KIPP charter school enterprise to remove black children from schools in West Oakland and also from San Francisco at the Malcom X Academy. There's a relationship between that and what's happening here at the Port of Oakland. This is the third busiest port on the West Coast. It's not only the economic engine for the Bay Area, but for the entire Northern California region. It's the only port on the West Coast that has predominantly African-American longshore workers at local ILWU Local 10 and Local 34. This is about privatization. This is about deindustrialization of the city of Oakland. But more importantly than that, it is about getting rid of black and working class people out of the city of Oakland. We're down now to 23% of the population. If this deal should go through, West Oakland will become entirely gentrified. And let's look at one thing. East Oakland, where we're standing here now, this is the bastion of the black community. The Oakland A's talk about community benefits. If you want to do a community benefits, you would build right here and stay where you are. But let me be clear about something. Fisher is already on the record as saying, if he does not get the Howard Terminal, he's leaving. The commissioner of baseball says, that if they don't get what they want, the A's are leaving. We already know that Portland wants to build a ballpark for the A's at the port. They say if we build it, they will come. What is to stop Fisher from getting this property? If he can't get the Oakland, if he can't get the port, turn around selling the development rights here and selling the team. Now we're getting down to the specifics of what all this means. This is more than a ballpark. This is about capturing some of the most important real estate in the city of Oakland. 122 acres here and 55 acres at the Port of Oakland. That should tell you what this is. And he's using baseball and the sentimentality and the affection that the city of Oakland has with the Oakland A's. We got to be able to separate the Oakland A's from the ownership. Yeah, this is about capitalism run amok. This is neoliberalism. Can you imagine a baseball park, 3,000 condominiums, 1.5 million square feet of retail space, and a 400-room hotel adjacent to an active port? All you have to do is to just look at Embarcadero in San Francisco. At one point, San Francisco was the #1 port city in the world. When you drive down the Embarcadero, the only remnants of maritime activity is at Pier 27, where there's a state-of-the-art passenger terminal, and Pier 35, where the old passenger terminal. Of course, you have the fleet that goes around the bay and goes to Alcatraz. The rest of it is what? Real estate offices, business offices. The Fisher family wants that property with the beautiful vistas of San Francisco. Remember, this is the state of art of what's going on right now, building ballparks and arenas on maritime property. And you've got two Democratic politicians, Assemblyman Ron Bonta and State Senator Nancy Skinner, who have been greasing the skids to make it much easier for Fisher to do this number on the city of Oakland. We want to make sure that the city of Oakland remains a multiracial, working class city. My father's people came here in 1936 as part of the Great Black Migration. My maternal grandfather became a longshore worker here in 1944. For over 80 years, my family has been sustained by those longshore jobs. These jobs are some of the best paying blue collar jobs, not only in the Bay Area, but in the United States of America. It's a place where black women make the same as white women. It's a place where black women make the same as white men. Equal pay for equal work. This is about systemic racism. This is about capitalism run amok, and only during a neoliberal, no, it's worse than that, a neo-fascist neoliberal administration can we see something like this to take